Hello everyone, this is Charles Zhang. This is the finals video. So, first off, I want to say I think I deserve an A in this course because I finished every assignment that was given to us. I gave an effort. I also responded almost everything. And then so let's start off. So this is Module 0. This describes basically what Canvas is and how to use Canvas. And we had to put our own biography and picture and about us on this profile. Then we started off with 3 questions, which went into what is physics, what do you think about it is, defining it, and what is reality and is physics real. Then we go into syllabus, reading what expected of this course, and we took a quiz on that as well. We downloaded physics for video games, which will be used throughout the whole entire course. Went through module 2 now, nature science, basically giving the misconceptions of science, and which is pretty interesting to read. We responded to 8 of the 3 questions discussion. Then our first neat resources was about 3D printing, which is pretty interesting, learning about how you can print different materials to like guns, to organs, and such like stuff like that. We read chapters 1 through 3, which was pretty interesting. Went into first coordinates, learning about coordinate system X and Y. Learning, then went through a lab and finished some questions on that. And then got introduced to VPython, where we got to create a sphere, and yeah, it was pretty cool. Then basically finished up with learning how to create a screencast, and then create our first week summary describing what we did, how we could relate to it as well. The module 3, which is uniform motion. We started off with the 4-dimensional humanity, and this was a document that we had to read and give our own perspective on it. And then yeah, we go into the response to nature science. I responded to 8 of those. Controversial debate topics and instructions. So we had to determine which controversial topic that we wanted to do, and do some simple research on it, and then list the ones that we wanted to do. Then we had to get our cultural science topic approved by David, and I decided to do Biosphere 2, and he approved it. So neat resources 2 was the next thing. This is about coordinates, vectors, and uniform motion. We found a video, and I found a video, and I posted it up. This told us basically, it gave an explanation of displacement, and uniform motion, and how that's related to car crashes, for instance. Then we go into the chapter 4 through 7, and this was pretty interesting. We gotta use vector. We gotta learn about vectors and a coordinate system based on vectors. Then we go into chapter 5 is uniform motion. This is where we learn in depth of displacement, where we gotta calculate displacement as well. Then this is where we got introduction to tracker. This is our first tracker software, where we did some experiments where we measured the movement. Here's my screenshots. Here's another one. We had to track the motion of the movement of the ball, and then we had to basically use a graph and then answer some questions. All right. Then we go into another programming. This is uniform motion. This is using VPython again, using basically, producing a uniform motion of a ball. And here's my screenshots of it, and here's a different angle of it as well. And then by the end of the week, we had to do week 2 summary, describing what we did, making a connection of how it is related to our lives and such and such. Then we move on to module 4. This is where we started off with students today and shift happens. Now this is about basically how classrooms have become and the way teaching habits have become. We had watched 2 videos, and then the second video was about basically it gave stats on how where we are compared to other cities, based on our English and such and such. Then we go on to responding to 40 humanity discussion, and I responded to 8 of those as well. Then this week we also selected our controversial debate topic, and I selected cloning was efficacious for science, and scientifically efficacious. So yeah, and then we go into our neat resources 3, programming. Now this is basically, we found something about programming, and what I really realized is that a lot of computer programmers actually work together to obtain knowledge and to improve what their programming skills are. And yeah, then we started off beginning of spiral kinematics. Now I have an example of this. This is basically where we had to go through motion diagrams, calculate the motion and the velocity basically. And then we go into chapter 8 through 10. Chapter 8 was about programming lists, loops, and ifs. So this is where we learned about the basically the while loop, and this basically was interesting because it's very important for programming overall. Then we move on to the keyboard interactions, where we incorporated by pressing a key if it would go right or left, and yeah, it was cool. Then chapter 10 was about programming collision detection. Now, basically, when collision occurred in the program, it would basically list it, and yeah, so this is what we learned. And by the end of the week, we also had to do a week 3 summary describing what we did. Alright, and this is module number 5. We start off with boys in gaming. This basically is a TED Talk video that gave stats on males and females and their learning habits and such. And then we go into responding students today and shift happens. I responded to 8 of those. Neat resource number 4, collisions. This is pretty interesting. It basically we had to post a video on collisions, and my video gave perspective on what a collision is and what occurs during the collision. Alright, and then we went into chapter 11 through 14. Chapter 11 is I believe Gillian's relativity, basically giving a perspective of velocity's relativity. And we had to basically calculate velocity and do some questions. And here's the answers to the questions. And then we go into chapter 12, which is collision and stationary rigid barrier. Basically went into coefficient restitution and talks about when an object collides with a stationary rigid barrier. And we also had to answer some questions about friction and frictionless stuff. We go into chapter 13, which is the lab. This is where we use tracker once again. We measured cue ball, a hockey puck, and a tennis ball. And let me see, I believe here's a tennis ball for that, and then and here's the cue ball where we had to do the measure. And then by the end of that, we had to analyze each of the videos and answer some questions. So as you can see, here they are. Here's my answers to them. And then we went into another programming using VPython, where we had to create a game Pong. We first played a game Pong, and we tried to copy that, basically a smaller and not as intense version of Pong, and do some coefficient restitution, stuff like that. And here's a screenshot of the game. Then we go into more SKA. This is a screenshot of what we did, basically doing some more motion diagrams and doing position versus time graphs. Then we had to finish off with the week 4 summary describing what we did this entire week. This module 6, we started off with engage me or enrage me. This is basically an article describing on how technology is being used and how it should be used to engage with students, to teach them and stuff like that. And then we go into responding boys in gaming. I responded to 8 different discussions. Then we had to post a draft of our controversial debate and turn that in with some minor research and such stuff like that. We go into chapter 15 through 17 on Weaver's assignment. So let me pull that up. Then this basically we go into video analysis of the fan car, basically using tracker and speeding away. And I had to answer some questions based on chapter 15, and here it is. Then chapter 16 talked about Newton's second law, describing basically his law and the acceleration, how it's final velocity over minus initial velocity over the time interval. And yeah, we had to also answer some questions for chapter 16, as you can see. And then we go into chapter 17, where it's modeling motion of a fan car, and we went into programming. We also had to basically answer some more questions and finish off by incorporating keyboard interactions. And as you can see, here's the code from VPython. All right, and then we had to finish off with even more SKA. We had some spiral kinematics. This was more of calculations, and also using the motion diagrams. Then we go into our neat resources, which is relativity. This talked about theory of relativity, which is in my video, and it helped me understand what this theory was about and how effective this video was. It was pretty good. And then we finish off with week 5 summary. Alright, and this for module 7 we started off with a value of creative disobedience. This is about basically how kids today are not really going to look up information themselves. They're basically getting answers from the internet and such. So, and in this PDF I found really interesting was that she gave an example of a girl and her father when she asked her father something about black holes, and you know, the father didn't know, so they both looked it up and they both learned. So yeah, that was pretty interesting. Then we go into the contra or responding, engage me, and enrage me, and yeah, I was responding to 8 of those. And then this week our controversial debate was actually due, and I was able to post mine, and yeah, it was pretty interesting. I found out that human cloning didn't mean just human cloning. It incorporated cloning of organs, fruits and vegetables and such and such. Then we go into our neat resources. Number 6 is the lunar landing. Found a video of Apollo and how when it first landed, and it gave a video perspective of what it looked like in putting the flag into the moon. So that was cool. And then we finished off with the final SKA. Now here's some images of my assignments. And then here's another one, I believe. Yep. And this is I kind of missed this because I was able to do this assignment and I enjoyed this assignment a lot. And then we go into chapter 18 through 20. This is basically lunar landing. Chapter 18. This is where we had to create a game that basically almost like lunar landing and had thrust and stuff like that. And here's a final production of the game, and you had to keep score as well. And yeah, and I kind of lost in this one, but it's okay. Then we go into video analysis of projectile motion, which was basketball. And here's a screenshot of me finishing off the assignment. Yeah, we measured the motion of the basketball. Then we go into Angry Bird, and we use a tracker as well for this, and we measured the motion of the Angry Bird, and this was a little bit different because it was basically done for us, but we were able to do the calculations of the radius of the bird, and since the screen kept zooming in and out, it was kind of difficult to do all that. So yeah, it was pretty interesting to do using tracker. And then by the end of the week, we had to finish off with a week 6 summary. And then for module 8, we had to start off with Digital Nation. This was basically an hour, maybe 20-minute video that was split into different chapters, and we had to put our responses on it. And this video is about like talking about technology and Digital Nation and what it's doing to our brains and how it's affecting our communication skills and stuff like that. Then it goes and we had to respond to our disobedience discussion, responded to 8 and more of those. Our last neat resource was a LSST Mirror Lab. This was pretty cool because this is something that is occurring at the U of A, where they're creating a big old telescope at the University of Arizona to see the windows of the universe, and this was cool. And I found a link that basically I described about it as well, wrote an abstract for that. And then we go into interviewing sign up, where we sign up for interviews for the next week to talk with David. And then our cultural science essay, which I wrote, and it was about Biosphere 2. This was a great experience, one of my favorite assignments to do because I was able to go with my family and explore the Biosphere 2 building. And then we went into spiral dynamics assignment. So this is an assignment that basically talked about the different body diagrams and the forces that affect a specific object. And of course, this is what I did, and I finished this up. And then we go into our final week summary 7, which describes everything I did this week and how I could relate to it, because I mean, like, such as cultural science report, like Biosphere, something futuristic. I mean, I'm gonna be living in the future, and I wanted to see what that looked like. And then for module 9, we basically replied to the Digital Nation discussion, which was a very long video, and responded to 9 of those, I believe, and then went to responding to a controversial debate. For this one, we had to respond to everybody's controversial debate, which I got a perspective of every topic out there and saw the pros and cons of each topic, which was really cool. And this is my physics notebook that I use throughout the entire course. As you can see, all the notes I've taken for each individual chapter and what's important in each chapter. and also the amount of time I spent is about 20 to 21 hours a week on each of the modules, which is a good amount of time. And then I felt like overall I deserve an A because I put in a lot of work. I did all the assignments, what's required. I even took notes, in-depth notes. I turned in each assignment, and yeah, I really enjoyed the course. And thank you for giving us the opportunity to take this course.